Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Cornbread! I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Welcome to the Detroit Koolaid, everyone. This is Mike coming to you here on a Friday. We're recording a little early here with the holiday, so me and Derek decided to do some solo shows. I'm sure Derek will listen to my show later and have points of view on my takes, and I'm sure you won't agree with everything, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to entertain, and once again, reasonable minds can differ. Even though it's before the weekend, I did look at the weather report, and it's supposed to be, relatively mild this weekend for this time of year for here in Michigan. It's going to be in the 40s. There's a chance of snow Sunday night, but still, the Lions are playing on Turkey Day, or did play on Turkey Day. If this is coming out Friday, I don't have obviously a review of the game because I'm recording before that, but it'll give you a chance to either watch some other football this weekend or maybe put up your Christmas decorations if you haven't done that yet already. I know a lot of people have. I have, and it'll give you an opportunity to get in that Christmas spirit. Go out there and make yourself feel a little better with the pandemic and everything going on. Not being able to see your family at Thanksgiving, that could definitely help. But as always, as I always say, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. What I want to start off with today, actually, is the play of Everson Griffen. He's actually, the last couple of weeks, he's played pretty well. His first week, we were kind of wondering where he went, but he's really kind of balled out the last couple of weekends, shown more than some of the defensive linemen the Lions have had. He's getting his pressures, getting a sack or two here and there. I believe he's one of those players that Derek's always talking about that can really get a defense hyped up. I realize that he's pretty new here, but I think he's got to be one of those guys that comes in here and starts to hold guys accountable for what they do. Either, I don't want to say for not playing hard. I'm sure everybody is playing hard. But still, make them be held a little more accountable for how they are playing. I'm really impressed. What he's done the last couple of weeks, I realized that, 1 week was a W and Carolina was a loss. But still, he's probably playing some of the best football on that defense that we've seen all year, and he's only been around for a few weeks. So I'm liking that signing. Also, with Trey Flowers, maybe he'd come back. Derek mentioned it before, pairing those two up, looking to maybe get a couple bookends that the Lions haven't had probably since Robert Porcher and Tracy Scroggins. But still, that could be one of those things where, because the Lions once again have had a little trouble getting pressure on the quarterback, having those two guys on there that could definitely help, especially where the Lions are right now. They're still in the playoff push, but we'll see what happens. What's going through? Minnesota's lost lately. The Bears, they're not that great. Even the Packers, they look like the best team in the division, but still they're not that great. So for the Lions, they really need to, have those guys on the defensive line to help them, try to make that push. And with Okwara, who's once again, Derek, having a little better year, I still think it's kind of an anomaly. I'm not going to want to base my whole defense around this guy, or, he's a nice spot player, But those three in a rotation, I think they could really get some pressure on the quarterbacks, and that's something they would definitely need to do if the Lions look to make any hay this year and make that final playoff push that we're all hoping for. Next thing I want to talk about was Stafford's thumb injury, and we all saw the wrap that he wore on his hand for the game, and he said it was fine, he said it felt okay. I know listening to the Carolina game, Chris Spielman said every time get hurt, every time he gets hit, with the football, it does hurt, it is painful, but it was something that Stafford played through. I think it looks like they went. I kind of thought maybe they would do that. They'd maybe go a little conservative early on, a little dump passes here and there, maybe try to protect him. But at one point where the Carolina was just too far out in front. Obviously, Stafford was dropping back all the time, and Carolina was just pinning their ears back and coming after him. That was probably the best defensive game Carolina's played all year. Stafford was always under pressure, so even some of those throws, the best throw he had all game was that 51-yard touchdown to Marvin Jones that was called back because Jones lined up, incorrectly, on the flea flicker play. So that was big. I mean, I know it showed, in the stat that was only one penalty for 5 yards, but it took a touchdown off the board and really changed momentum right there. That would have got the Lions back into the game. Obviously would have pumped up that offense a little more because they were really struggling at that time. And it was one of those plays that we're always looking for them to go out and be able to do to get that offense rolling. And that was one of those plays. Marvin Jones, he fought the defensive back for the ball and was able to make the catch. But still, I mean, one penalty for 5 yards taken off a 51-yard touchdown strike. That's a pretty rough thing to go through. So it makes you kind of wonder at that point, Stafford, when he's dropping back time after time after that, sure, he's probably just in his mind thinking, he's going to play the same way, that he always does, but maybe, I don't want to say babies that hand a little more, doesn't want to, take that chance, throwing the ball. Maybe there wasn't as much zip, on some of his other passes. I know there were some drops in that game as well. Ball went right through Agnew's hands. Ball went through, Hawkinson's hands as well. But still, I don't think it was he looked that bad per se. I mean, his numbers, weren't great. But he didn't have all these missed throws and stuff that we've seen in the past when he's injured his hand. And people are like, oh, it's his hand. He didn't have a lot of missed throws. There's just, defense made plays on some, knocking the ball down. Like I said, there were a few drops, and, just things happened that led to his poor numbers right there. Still, I mean, the offense was a little stagnant, and I think Darrell Bevell kind of went conservative on that, trying to establish a run game more with Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson with DeAndre Swift out. Maybe just trying to protect him a little more. But like I said, once the defense, started to crack and, the Carolina was scoring, Detroit just had to drop back and throw the ball, and at that point Stafford just seemed to be under pressure, getting hit, almost like every time he dropped back. So at this point in the season, I mean, I know, like I said, we're all hoping for that playoff push, and just to, see if they can get in that. But one of those things, like at this point, if is there a point maybe you think about once again setting down Stafford with his injury, hoping it doesn't get any worse. I know that Stafford wants to go out there and play, but keep him healthy. I know some people are ready to move on from him. They've been ready to move on. If you just set him down the rest of the year, I think his toughness, everybody kind of knows it. So set him down, get him healthy. Maybe if the Lions are looking to trade him in the off season for something, it can do that, as opposed to going out there, and it becomes worse where, the thumb is just too bad. They don't have a young quarterback to go out there to try to groom. I mean, Chase Daniel's the backup, and it's everything that Lions fans are, not wanting to see. We all saw when Stafford left last year what happened to the team, and I'm assuming that's probably what would happen again if Stafford was to be pulled. But at this point, you have to make the decision: do you try to make the playoffs, or do you just try to tank out to get the best draft pick you can? Everybody knows how I feel about it. No matter what, I always want the Lions to win, no matter if it hurts their draft stock or not. But I think you kind of have to consider at this point, setting down Stafford, just to protect his hand, not to do any further damage to it. I mean, just even if you're looking to trade him in the offseason, let him get healthy. That way, other teams know that he is healthy. If they are willing to make a deal, you may be able to get a little more for the guy. Another thing I want to touch base on was obviously the Swift concussion. And that's one of those things where it was kind of downplayed, and you didn't hear anything about it going into the Carolina game. It was just everybody said, brain injury. Yeah, I heard that, but once again, that's, concussion. And it kind of plays into that thing we were chatting about, Kerryon Johnson. Is there a point where, let him sit, the rest of, like, especially when he was a rookie when he got injured. And I was like, well, the more carries he gets, the better. Even if it's late in the season, it's only going to help his development. With Swift, I guess I feel a little different. I think he's shown what he can do. I think he's obviously shown he's the best running back on the team at this point for what he can do. And catching the ball, running the ball, his quicks. He doesn't go in on passing down, so his pass blocking, picking up blitzes, that might need a little work, and that's what they use Kerryon Johnson for. But still, everything else that he does, once again at this point, concussions, we all know you get one, and it seems to be, everybody says it's always pretty easy to get another one. At this, I'm kind of on the fence. I would like to see him back out there to get some more snaps. Once again, it can only help him as a rookie to develop even more. But this could be the guy, the best running back on the team. Since everybody says old number 20, old Barry Sanders, and I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of torn. I'd like to know how you guys feel. So hit me up on Twitter at GriffKDKC, or feel free to call and text into the line at 989-272-3484 for what your opinion is on that, because I'd just like to know what you guys think. If you guys would set Swift at this point, just to make sure he doesn't get another concussion the rest of the year, or get him out there, get him as many snaps as he can. It can only help his development, because I'd really like to know how you guys feel about that, because this guy could be something special, and I know the rate of was like roughly 3 years is the lifespan of a running back in the NFL, and obviously concussions are a bad thing, and they shelf people pretty quick. We all saw what happened to Javid Best, but we all saw his video of him getting concussed at Cal, where he was a stiff as a board before he even hit the ground. So that one was a little different. Every concussion is bad, and having them pile up is not a good thing. So I don't know. I think right now, if he's healthy, I would like to see Swift back out there, no matter where they are at, where the Lions are at in the playoff push. If they're looking just to get him as many snaps as possible, I would like to really see him out there, and it can only help his development. Even if you're looking to try to maybe get him some more snaps to passing downs, open up the playbook even more, let him see a little more defenses, so he knows what he's looking at. When he's out there, I'm sure he watches plenty of tape. He did in college as well, but obviously the pros is a little different. Everybody says running back's probably the easiest spot to transition into the pros, but still learning what defenses are doing, where they're at, what they're looking to do, what they're looking to do to take you out of the game, and it can help him just to get as many snaps as possible. But once again, it's just those concussions thing, they're hard to do, and I don't want to say running backs are easily replaceable. But still, this guy could be something special, but I would really like to see him on the field as much as possible for Detroit, until the end of the year. Okay, that's what I got here. I just want to take a little break. I know we've been going adless, but I know Derek, he does this other podcast. He does the Believe in Lions podcast. It's a great thing that he does. He does it with, Lions great Benny Blades. Listen to Benny Blades stories. Listen to Benny and Derek, do the little banter back and forth. It's very enjoyable. So Derek has a little spot here for you guys to listen to. Once again, it's the Believe in Lions podcast. You can find it on many platforms. So here's that, and I'll be right back to finish the show.
What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Derek Oakrey of the Detroit Koolaid Cast, and this is normally where I tell you about some of our great sponsors. But today, I want to tell you about my other Lions podcast. It's called Believe in Lions, and that's spelled BLEAV on the Believe Podcasting Network, with both myself and Lions legendary safety Benny Blades. Yeah, you know who he is, the hard-hitting safety Benny Blades. Played for the Lions. He also played for the you know what it is, the University of Miami, those Miami Hurricanes. He mentions it multiple times a show. Benny loves to talk about his Hurricanes, his Lions, and I love to play this soundbite on the show. We have a ton of fun on that show. We laugh, we joke, we talk Lions. Like I said, he brings up the Hurricanes. I talk about my Michigan Wolverines. It's a really fun show. Benny loves the Lions. He tells great stories from his playing days, as well as we're just rooting on this team. We BLEAV in the Lions. So please go ahead, find it on your favorite podcast platform. Hit that subscribe button and check it out. Share it with a friend. We really appreciate it. So check out Believe, BLEAV in Lions, with myself and Benny Blades. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Once again, this is Griff coming to you on a Friday, busy holiday week that me and Derek just decided to do some solo shows here. Once again, if you like what you hear, give us a subscribe. Give us a positive review. Also, it can only help us as we're going forward. I mean, me and Derek really enjoy doing this. I know it sounds like we get in these knockdown dragouts every once in a while, man, but there's much love for Derek. We've been friends a long time, and we just know in the end it's just it's just us having our disagreements about how we feel about our Lions. I know that he's getting a little frustrated with them as well, but I know deep down, I mean, we're both big fans of the team. Once again, hit us up on Twitter. It's at Derek Oakery, or at GriffGoodDKC. Once again, we have the call-in line. Feel free to call and text at 989-272-3484. Once again, that's 989-272-3484. Once again, leave us something. We'll get your name and get you on the show. If you have any questions, we'll answer them for you. Okay. On the back half of the show here, it seems like obviously the major groundswell is, it's been this way for a little bit. Is the hot seat of Matt Patricia. He has a win. He seems to tone down a little bit. He has a loss, especially some of the losses that have looked pretty brutal, and seems to heat right back up again. So I was going through thinking of some of the names of the possible candidates if Matt Patricia is fired. Number of names out there. Some people like other coordinators. I don't know about retreads, anything like that, college ones. So I have a list of names here. I'll give you a little bit of a take on each one on how you may feel. Once again, if you have your own thought of who might be able to replace Matt Patricia, get this thing turned around, going in the right direction, hit it up on Twitter, at Derek Oakery or at GriffGoodDKC, and we'll be able to respond, see what you think, or once again, call or text on the line. Let's just take a flurry of names, and me and Derek will give our thought process on each one. If there's a name out there that I don't mention, feel free to add it. Because once again, I'm only doing a few names here and trying to give my opinion on these people and where they think they might be able to take the team. First one I'd like to talk about is Robert Saleh. He's the defensive coordinator for San Francisco. This guy's had a major groundswell. What he's did with San Francisco's defense. There's points where I believe like every defense in the NFL, they have their good games and they have their bad games. But I think he's really turned around that San Francisco defense from where it was. I think he'd be real talented. We have a defensive-minded coach right now. These guys do a little different defenses. Once again, we've seen what Matt Patricia kind of believes in. What he have the defensive backs cover as much as possible. The bigger linebackers, maybe not as fleet of foot, and it just doesn't seem like they put as much stock in the pass rush. I think that's where Robert Saleh is different. It seems like his defenses have plenty of speed. Obviously, they have Bosa out there on the defensive line. They're looking for those quick linemen to be able to put as much pressure as possible on the quarterback. And let's face it, at one point, we were all talking prior to the season that maybe this division could have been the best one in the NFL, but it's looking right now, obviously the NFC West is, a really good division, and a lot of good teams out there, and his defense, for the 49ers defense is hanging out there. So what could he do, coming here to Detroit, changing the mindset, obviously bringing in a different scheme, maybe one that attacks more than what the current regime does, looking for more speed on the defensive side of the ball. I know watching the Carolina game, it seemed like Detroit's defense to Carolina's defense, and I realized Carolina's defense was ranked, was in the bottom third in a lot of categories. But gosh, that team speed they seem to have on the defense, they seem to be, everywhere on the field, and I think that's what Detroit could use, and I believe that's what Robert Saleh would bring to this team, is trying to get a fast defense, fast attacking defense. It seems like since I've been watching the Lions, they play a lot of bend don't break, and my problem is generally with bend don't break, they generally break at some point, and they start to, it just becomes a flood of points where they just can't stop, and I think they need that attacking defense that's always looking to put pressure on the quarterback, not make them comfortable. Because, let's face it, you make a quarterback move, get them looking at the pass rush. it obviously makes him uncomfortable, makes him easier to get off his game and lead to better opportunities for turnovers. That's another thing that the Lions struggle with is turnovers. So he's one coach candidate. Would I like him or not like him? I know one of those things that Derek always kind of says is that those guys they haven't had to call a game yet. But let's face it, he's the defense coordinator out there. He's the one making the calls. So I would have to say that he's not taking any points of view. I don't want to say he's taking points of view, but he's not taking any pointers from the head coach. I mean, we all know Kyle Shanahan was an offensive-minded coach, offense coordinator, so he's out there running the defense himself. So I know one of those things I always say is that Matt Patricia was under Bill Belichick, and it was always Bill Belichick's defense at his scheme. You run what I want. That this is what I want you to do. I still think a lot of times Bill Belichick was making that scheme up. But Salah's obviously the one doing it out in San Francisco. So honestly, I don't think this would be that bad of a coaching hire. But we've also seen a lot of defensive-minded coaches kind of fall out. I mean, we've had some here. Besides Matt Patricia, we had Jim Schwartz. That guy was a defensive-minded coach. I mean, I know at one point I really wanted Steve Spagnuolo. That guy was a defensive-minded coach, and he bottomed out. But I mean, I don't think this one would be a bad hire at all. Another one is Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator out at Kansas City. I know this guy gets interviewed with every open coaching position, and for some odd reason, he's just not getting the job. I don't know what it is. I was chatting with Eric Bieniemy with a friend the other day, and he goes, let's face it, he's not the one calling the offense out there. It's Andy Reid's offense. He's the one just kind of covering practices. Andy Reid's checking out some of the defense. It's still Andy Reid's game plan. It's still Andy Reid pretty much calling the plays. Eric Bieniemy's just kind of there as, I don't want to say for show, but it's Andy Reid's offense. And I guess with that, I can see his point. It seems like that happens a lot. A head coach that's an offensive-minded head coach. I mean, Mike McCarthy did it in Green Bay. Mike Holmgren did it in Green Bay as well. He went out to Seattle, tried to give a little bit of, I don't want to say of the coordinating position to somebody else, and ultimately took it back over. Those offensive-minded coaches, if it's their scheme, they really like to control it. So, on this one with Eric Bieniemy, I don't know what he could bring. Is the offense, it has its hits or misses now, where it looks, where it's just marching up and down the field, and then it'll get all conservative when it has some points. But let's face it, Kansas City's good because they got Pat Mahomes, and they got like wide receivers that can, just pretty much, run by everybody. I mean, they're good, and they got a great offensive line. They got good running backs, a great tight end, and so it's one of those things. Like I said, they got Pat Mahomes. The guy's a hell of an athlete, and this guy can make all the throws. I mean, we've all seen him. So that's a big thing. Does Detroit have that? I mean, Matt Stafford can make all the throws when healthy. Do they have wide receivers that can run by people? Not really. I mean, we all said it before that they do have trouble. Their wide receivers getting separation. Even Kenny Galladay, he does, make some spectacular catches, but he does have some trouble getting separations. Hawkinson is not, Travis Kelce. Everybody thinks he's ascending, but still, I mean, he has a ways to go to get there. And the running backs, they have Swift, and the guy can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and Kerryon Johnson's still here too. So, I mean, are they on par with Kansas City's running backs? I mean, you can make the argument that they are. But still, I mean, would he bring in a different style? Maybe a more run and gun, put the points up on the board. I don't want to say they play in, like, Kansas City plays kind of in the same, type of weather that Detroit would play in. Yeah, it's like Kansas City has its bad weather games as well. They play in Denver as well. I mean, and the Rams and now Las Vegas. I mean, so those teams are more of your Detroit and Minnesota that have the dome teams, and then your bad weather teams, Chicago and Green Bay. So Eric Bieniemy would know how to adjust the game plan according to the weather. So would I like this hire? Gosh, I'm kind of shying away from it. And I know everybody's going to point to Doug Peterson, what he did in Philadelphia. But, I mean, Philadelphia, they've struggled as well on offense. They always seem to, they always seem to be signing like every running back that they can, and they still don't have a great running game. Carson Wentz, I still think he can be a good quarterback. But it's one of those things where Eric Bieniemy, I'm sure maybe he might be a good coach, but I'd like to shy away from this one because I still think it's Andy Reid's offense there. Another one, Kevin O'Connell. He's the Rams offensive coordinator. This is another one where the Rams have, Jared Goff. He's a good, not great quarterback. Got a good running back. They got, fast wide receivers, shifty wide receivers. So this is another one, though, where you play in the West. I mean, I guess you could call Seattle the bad weather game there. San Francisco, I mean, they get rain there, but still, they have Arizona and themselves as well. So it seemed like at one point, anybody who had talked to McVay, they were looking to put this guy, if you had a cup of coffee with him, okay, you can be our coach. But this is another one where, Kevin O'Connell, I would kind of like to shy away from that. I think, it's one of those things where I don't really know if he's the one calling the offense. I think it might be McVay's offense, and he's the one doing it, and he's just the one O'Connell's the one just kind of watching it as McVay's doing other stuff, making sure the rest of the team's in order. So this would be another one I would kind of shy away from right now, and hopefully, I'm not saying he might never get his shot, but I just don't think he's the right guy for Detroit. Then this guy, this guy's name has come up a few different times. That's Kellen Moore, Dallas's offense coordinator. This is another one where he's, showing some stuff. It's like, wow, look at this offense. Look what he's done with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's throwing around the ball. They had, Zeke Elliott. They got great wide receivers. Dallas's offensive line has, been a little banged up and hurt this year. So they're not as good, throwing up the points. But once again, I believe Kellen Moore, he's just another one of those kind of figureheads. Mike McCarthy's down there. Mike McCarthy is let's face it, man. He coached in Green Bay for years. The guy's a control freak. The guy likes to, be the one to call the offense. He struggled giving it up in Green Bay. So I highly doubt he's not the one calling the plays down there. It's his offense down there. And people are all like, oh, look at his offense. It's terrible down here. They didn't score. Well, I know a lot of people think Dak Prescott's good. I know a lot of people that think Dak Prescott's not that great. But let's face it, their offensive line is toast this year, and it's hard to do a whole lot when your offensive line is that banged up and beat up. So, once again, Kellen Moore, he might get a shot at some point, and maybe, I'm naming off all these guys saying, hey, stay away from them. I don't think they're the ones calling the offense. I think it's the offensive, I think it's the head coach. It's their offense. And maybe they turn out to be, John Gruden or something like that, or maybe Andy Reid, and, and it's like, Mike, what were you talking about? Look, you missed on this guy. So I just don't think they're the right guy for the job here. There's going to be too much turnover, and, it's going to be one of those things where I think these offense coordinators are going to want their own quarterback. So, if you're fine walking away from Matt Stafford, drafting one or bringing in another young quarterback to take his place, and these guys are going to want to mold their quarterback, and we've seen it. There's some good young quarterbacks, and there's some quarterbacks you just kind of that are young and you're just like, gosh, this guy wasn't the right pick, or this guy's not developing like we thought he would, or that's why I don't want an offensive coordinator, because you're right, it might be time to move on from Matt Stafford, and they're going to want to bring in their own guy. But rookie quarterbacks are really hit or miss, especially if you don't have some talent put around them. And it just seems like at this point, the talent, they have a good running back, they have a good tight end, but their wide receiving core could be decimated. The Lions' wide receiving core could be decimated after this year. And if you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback and have a bunch of young wide receivers out there with the only staples are, your tight end and your running back, that's going to be awful hard for that guy to develop, and could really shake his confidence. So I don't want any offense coordinators right now that are the head coaches were former offense coordinators, simply because I just don't think it's their offense. They're not the ones calling it. It's still the head coach. So I would say no on Bieniemy, O'Connell, and Moore, and Robert Saleh. I'd be okay with right now. And that's how I feel about offense coordinators and defense coordinators in the pros right now. Once again, if I miss anybody, you're like, hey, why don't we try this guy? Hit me up on Twitter at GriffGoodDKC, or call the line at 989-272-3484, and let me know what you think. And as always, I mean, there's always the coaching ranks to college. We just saw Matt Rule down in Carolina's first year had its ups and downs down in Carolina, and I know me and Derek talked about that on one of the last week's shows. Those guys, they got a little more, I don't know, they got a little more rope to play with, that they can go out there and kind of do what they want as as that rookie head coach coming from college. No, I have to hand it to you. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Matt Rule, what's he done?" Well, Matt Rule, turned around a Temple program, and Temple's not really known for, having great football programs. I mean, they were a good team while he was there. Then he went to Baylor, and Baylor's another one of those teams. It's just like they don't have an awesome football tradition that when you think of those Texas universities or the old Southwest Conference of, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, those teams. But still, Matt Rule did some stuff out at the University of Baylor, with his offense. So it's one of those guys. I mean, he can coach, and you could always point to, say somebody like a Greg Schiano as well. Well, look what he did at Rutgers. I mean, actually, Rutgers is playing a lot tougher this year than they have in most years. So why not him again? Well, we all saw him in the pros. I believe he's one of those old school coaches. And I think the old school rah-rah coach works a little better in college than it does in the pros. I mean, once again, in the pros, you're dealing with grown men. Everyone can say, well, look at Pete Carroll. Well, yeah, Pete Carroll, I think when he got to the pros, he toned it down a little bit. I mean, him, coaching with the Jets and coaching with New England before going back to USC, having his success up there before going up north. So I think Pete Carroll, at least kind of knew how to handle pro players a little bit. Having your strict rah-rah coaches, old school, ground and pound, blood and guts, coaches that you see. I think that's what Greg Schiano is, and I think his game works a lot. I think his coaching style works a lot better in college than it does in the pros. But obviously, somebody like Matt Rule, I think the guy's more, has a more offensive mind, willing to take more chances, and that's what he needed to do on that young Carolina team. So if you're looking to move on, take a college coach, there's always the coaching candidates out there. I know one that always comes up, and that's Lincoln Riley at the University of Oklahoma. The way I kind of feel about Lincoln Riley is his offense, once again. I mean, he's had guys there that, everybody's liked. I mean, Kyler Murray's, out there right now. I mean, one of Derek's favorite, Baker Mayfield, is out, in Cleveland, but I still think Baker Mayfield's terrible. But his offense is one of those, kind of pass around and go. I guess the way I kind of feel about Lincoln Riley is his Oklahoma team. It's one of those teams that it's always the best team in the division. It's always got the most talent on. So he's one of those guys that's just always just kind of beating up on, worse teams. Come on, let's face it. The teams are in that Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma take on. I mean, they're not that great. I mean, Kansas, Kansas State has its ups and down years. Texas seems to be coming back a little more, and that's always the rivalry game, the Red River. So no matter how good or bad Texas is, that seems to always be a close game. But there's Texas Tech. They're always like really hit or miss, and it just seems like he spends a lot of time beating up on bad teams. Even so, I don't know how I feel about Lincoln Riley, coming in here. I don't know if he'd definitely be an offense and might be the guy that just chuck it around that the line's are always looking for, going back to the old run and shoot, throw it as much as possible. They have a running back. I mean, Oklahoma, Detroit has running backs. Oklahoma seems to always have decent running backs. It seems like Oklahoma always uses those fast wide receivers. Detroit, might not have those exact wide receivers that they're looking for. Might have to get some more speed out there for Lincoln Riley's offense. But still, out of the college coaches, that have been down there, I don't think this would be a terrible hire, simply because he's got that offensive mind, and if you're looking for something innovative, one where I think ultimately I don't think you can have that running quarterback in the pros. It always seems ultimately a running quarterback, has a good couple years, but then you're figured out, and teams don't want to spend so much money on a quarterback that's out there scrambling, running around, looking to be the ultimate running quarterback, because those guys seem to get hurt. So if that's what he's looking for, I don't think Lincoln Riley has that, where his guys got to take off and run all the time. He doesn't run that type of offense. So this could be the one that just, could be that guy that's just looking to spread around and go. So I don't think I would hate this hire. I guess I would just have to see what type of offense he'd bring here and, throw it around. But I think for defense, he would definitely need one of those, those old salty defense coordinators to guide that defense that would know what it's doing, because I don't think Lincoln Riley would have to be. I don't think he could be as hands-on with the defense. He would have to be spending his time installing his offense. So I think he would need a strong defensive coordinator to really handle the Lions' defense. Another name, I mean, he's out there, is Dabo Swinney. Everybody keeps saying he's going to Jacksonville or, some team, whichever team gets the number 1 pick. He's going to go there because they're going to take Trevor Lawrence and it's just going to be the head coach and the quarterback going back again. Dabo Swinney, he turned around the Clemson program. I mean, Clemson was one of those teams that was always kind of one of those up and down teams. They'd have a good couple years and then they'd be back to the middle of the pack, and then, back up a couple good years and, back to the middle of the pack. But he's really turned around. They're obviously perennial, playoff contenders, great teams, great offenses. Defense, seems to be, really, really good under Will Venables as well. So bringing him to the pros, I don't know. It seems like another one where Clemson's in one of those conferences where there might be like 1 or 2 other good, decent teams, and then everybody else is just cannon fodder, where they're just going to go roll up on everybody. So everybody's going to be, well, look, they lost to Notre Dame this year, and, well, Notre Dame's it's the only time they're really playing in the conference, even though they have that deal where they play, 5 teams from the ACC every year. But still, it's one of those things where I don't think I'd be too keen on Dabo Swinney. I could be wrong. Everybody's like, well, look what he's done at Clemson. I think he's going to be one of those guys. I think he's too much of that rah-rah coach. That's what he always seems like, which is fine. Some people want that. Some people want to see emotion out of their coach on the sideline, as opposed to what Matt Patricia kind of does right now. It's just very, he's stoic and stagnant. And you never know what he is. But I think at some point, showing some emotion on the sideline is fine, but you can never get too high or too low. So, but I think Dabo Swinney is one of those guys that I think he has a wide range of emotions. But some people want to see that. I don't think that works very well in the pro game. So, Dabo Swinney, I would say no on him. And last but not least, everybody's favorite, Jim Harbaugh. This one keeps coming up. It's like everybody's like he's walking away. He's going to walk away from Michigan. Michigan doesn't want him back after this year. And it's all been heard before that when he goes to the pros, he kind of wears out his welcome with players, and they grow tired of him within the first 3-4 years. So. He's a tough-minded coach. He's the old salty coach. I think he could turn the team around, but I think he would just wear out his welcome relatively fast. And I think the Lions would be looking for a new coach, after in their 5 years. And that's not really what we want as Lions fans. We want a coach that's going to be here for a bit, turn this team into, one of those perennial in the playoff hunt teams. Not always like just kind of hoping and praying. It's just like if everything breaks right, we got this. And I know it takes a lot to win win games in the NFL. I realize that. But having a coach who's going to have his welcome worn out within the first 3-4 years, that's not what we're looking for here. So Jim Harbaugh, I was really excited when he got hired in at Michigan, but it seems like the team's kind of, turned its back on you at the University of Michigan. I'd have to say no here, simply from, what I've heard, what I've read. I just don't think that'd be the guy I want. So once again, if you have anybody else on any college coach that you may be interested, hit me up on Twitter at @GriffKDKC, and I'd like to hear it. Other than that, if it was out of the 3 college coaches, I think Lincoln Riley would probably be the one I'd want to go with, even though I wouldn't be completely sold, pining for this guy, for him to come here to coach the Lions. So that's what I got there. Once again, just trying to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not one of those things where I want to see Matt Patricia, canned. I wish the team was better. It just doesn't seem to be working out right now. The team just doesn't seem to be where it needs to be, and I do believe it is time to move on. And I'm sure Sheila Ford Hamp will do her due diligence in trying to find the right coach. Even if Bob Quinn, if he's still here or not, nobody really can't tell if Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia are a package deal or not. I would have to say they are tied together. So I think if Matt Patricia goes, Bob Quinn's gone as well. So that's how I feel. I appreciate everybody listening. Everybody, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and it'll be a nice weekend to put your Christmas decorations up, get in the Christmas spirit. So other than that, everybody drink it in, man, and we'll talk to you next week. I'm out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.